Hi everybody, it's Dara, and I am so happy to be back in my kitchen. Well, I've been in my kitchen, but I'm happy to have you back with me in my kitchen. And today I'm making a gorgeous salad for a very, very amazing and special person who will be here any minute. And I wanted to take a minute to tell you about who he is. And remember when Jenna and I talked about human design, and so many of you had light bulbs going on, aha moments about who we are. If we act according to our human design, then the blessings come. And it's something, human design, there's some books on it. I don't know of any practitioners, any healers, other than MANEX, that's his name, and he's gonna be here. He's a shaman, he knows human design. Extremely skilled and talented in healing, in all things healing. So it's going to be interesting just to hear what he has to say about what he does. I find it really fascinating, and I'm so honored and delighted to have him here, which I will tell him when he's here.
Even in the middle of the mountains now, there's airplanes.
Yes, here we are, you guys. MANEX arrived. And we did my session, and I feel amazing. He's a shaman and a healer, and MANEX, welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Welcome. Like, seriously, so nice to have you. And I'm going to just prepare our food, and hopefully you're going to share with everybody what it is you do to help people heal and expand consciousness, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I think there's a lot of misinterpretations or misunderstandings about what a shaman is. So basically, just what a shaman is, very briefly, is somebody who works with spirits and with plants to help realign people to their spiritual identity and help them work through any kind of programs or old wounds or relationship issues, and really try to really understand themselves and their connection to spirits so that they can thrive.
That's so great. And we know, we all, because we're human, we have had family of origin stuff, past life, current past life things that you were telling me about, and we have things to reveal and release.
Exactly.
And you work with plants, so do I.
Exactly. It's amazing.
We're working with plants, we're surrounded by plants. And I really, it's so magical because Jenny came to me magically, and then she introduced you to me magically. Yeah. And it's kind of, I'm getting chills because I'm a projector, and I'm supposed to just wait until magical beings like you appear, and they do. Like, we become, you know, I tell people raw food isn't everything. Food isn't everything, but it's the first thing. And when we clean up our bodies and we're vibrating at a certain high level, we're able to attract people like you.
Exactly.
So our family, our YouTube family, is going to love to hear how you help people heal through vision quests, and plant medicine, and human design.
And human design and energy healing. So I use a lot of different tools to bring people into alignment. So the first thing I do is I look at your energy. And a lot of us have energy centers. I mean, we all have energy centers, but most of us have some energy centers that are struggling or actually closed, which then creates symptoms and problematics, and also attracts people to help us deal with those issues.
Or show them. So when you're having like a relationship issue, it's like, it can be an aha moment, like, just like when your body hurts, it can be like, oh, something's going on, what is it? So we can do preventative and maintenance and be balanced.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, so like human design is an amazing tool. I got into this tool about 9 years ago. I'm clairvoyant, so I see a lot of energy and I see a lot of different things. And then here's this human design that comes up with this map, and it shows you your genetics. And so it's really your mechanics. So it's like learning your car, or learning like really how your body works. And so it's your strengths, your weaknesses, your consciousness. It even tells you what your environment should be, how you should eat your food. Like some people like need a lot of stimulus, like sound. Others need to eat in.
Really?
Yeah, it's really amazing. And I do that like after a while, because first there's a lot of
This is
healing.
only my second session, and I'm definitely going to do a third, and I'm definitely going to do a vision quest.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, you almost came.
I almost did, but as you saw last time, I wasn't quite ready.
No.
Right?
Now we are,
Now I'm ready. Now I'm like ready to see what's next.
And I'll talk about Vision Quest in a little bit. I'm going to talk about human design because it's really practical. It's an amazing tool for self-discovery.
Right.
Now, obviously, human design, you take your birthday and you type it in and you get this chart.
Which we're going to post the link below.
Excellent.
And all the links to you below. So birthday, time.
Birthday, time, and place.
And place.
And so what the idea of that is that there's neutrinos. Neutrinos are like little particles that are flying through the universe, and they're going at the speed of light, just about, and they're taking information from all the stars and everything else, and then they're blasting it through us, and then our genes react to that and create all the chemical reactions and all these things that give us personality traits, and that gives us like our consciousness and all sorts of things. And so on a daily basis, well, there's a different program that's going on. So when we're born, or when we're conceived, actually, we take the genes from our dad, from our mom, and then the imprint that's going on at that moment actually influences who we are. And so it's almost like this imprint that then makes your being.
Yeah.
And then we get to live that for these 100 years or so. Right?
For this short weekend in our soul's lifetime.
Exactly. I love to say that.
I love that. Like, it's a short weekend. Let's get on with it.
Exactly.
Let's like evolve this stuff.
And enjoy and not dramatize, and you know, like it's really about like the joy of humor and love, really. That's what we're looking for.
Love is the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And he asked me, what is love? And I was like, I don't know, it's a feeling. And you said it's an energy. And what you're talking about, these particles and everything that happens, is energy. Like, that's where we're getting to, is understanding that everything's energy.
Everything's energy. And everything has consciousness and energy. Actually, I talk about spirits and I say they're just conscious frequencies. So love is a frequency, and we all have felt it at one point or another. When we fall in love, we feel this like frequency. When we break up, we feel this horrible aspect because we feel like we're out of that frequency.
Love, right.
But actually, our job is to bring that love frequency in us, and that's when we are attracting everything that we need, including love, the right partners, and everything else, and all the healing starts happening with that. And so the way to get into that love frequency is, first of all, you have to know yourself, accept all the dark side of yourself, the dark side, and then really enjoy your strengths and accept that our society pushes so much what we should be,
Yeah.
and then our parents add another,
What
and
we
then our
should be
education
according to them.
Now, what we are is really hard to find out, but that's actually the key.
Getting
and when
back
we
to our own selves.
accept
like
who we really are, that's when we start thriving. And that's when synchronicity, all sorts of good people come, opportunities, and we get to experience real love. And that's when we're accepting ourselves. So how do you get there? And there's many different tools. So shamanism has different initiations, like the Vision Quest does about 3 different initiations. And those are important because they bring us to experience ourselves in different situations. So we get to push our boundaries, our fears, and
out
all
in
that.
nature and
Out in
ourselves
nature.
maybe. And
Well, the reconnection to nature is so important, and that's fundamental in shamanism. We're so disconnected to nature that by bringing us back into connection, it's actually revealing our own nature through nature. And basically we reconnect to source energy.
right.
And we all have source in us. We are source. But we forget that. That's actually like the Buddhist teachings. The greatest pain and suffering comes from the illusion that we're separate from source.
From the love
And
thing.
from nature,
yeah.
and therefore from love. This is not true. We are source, we are nature, and we are love.
Right. We are love.
Exactly.
And it's so interesting, we were talking about relationships and just a little bit on that being in love isn't outside. It's not finding someone or a thing or a situation or a job or whatever. It's actually in us.
Yeah.
So how do we do this? How does somebody, first they look up their human design,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they hear maybe they're a projector or they're a manifestor or a manifesting generator, and they're all beautiful.
Yeah. There's
All
no
of
right
them.
or wrong. That's
No.
like one of the biggest lessons. There just is what you are, and then it's accepting what you are and understanding what you are so that you can be what you are. Rather than being the conditioned and having all this pressure of what you think you should be, when you
It's so
start actually
relaxing.
living
That's so-
yourself, it's
Yeah.
really relaxing, it's really easy, and then life just
It's liberating.
happens.
It's
Exactly.
liberating.
Well, we talk a lot about that with liberation. I had a question just recently. Somebody was like, "What's freedom?" And I was like, "Wow, that's a really interesting question." Because all the spiritual work is about liberation,
Yeah.
and liberation is actually just taking away everything that prevents us from being in that high frequency of ourselves, which is love, our higher self. We talk about that a lot,
Yeah.
right? Well, our higher self is just ourself in love.
In love, in your heart, like in you, like
Yes.
you told me you meditated on love.
Yes.
Like we can all do that, just like we can all eat this food. We can be in love at all times.
Completely.
And then we attract the things that we desire or
Need
that are
or-
meant for us
Exactly.
or whatever.
Exactly.
So
Food is super important because actually the people who are making the food, when they put love in it, you're actually being nourished by love. And obviously when you're eating really clean food, you're going to actually have a better time or an easier time getting to that higher frequency.
right,
And therefore being able to achieve that love state,
right.
which then attracts everything that's amazing.
It's like the cleanup and the nurturing yourself, because it really is. This is love. Like
Yes.
taking care of yourself.
Yes.
This way is love.
That's
Like,
self-loving.
It's self-loving.
Taking baths, getting massages, getting healthy in terms of your sports or whatever, and then going deeper, like actually connecting to nature. I love the Japanese. They have this saying that they take nature baths, and that if you haven't taken your nature bath, you're dirty. And what a nature bath is a walk in the woods. And for every
that's
hour that
awesome.
you work,
Yeah.
you should take 5 minutes of a nature bath.
Okay.
So after 8 hours, you pretty much need like 50 minutes to an hour of walk. How many people do that?
So how many? So how much?
It's basically for
You work
1
for an
hour,
hour.
you do 5 minutes of nature.
Okay.
So 8 hours, it's about 50 minutes. So we need like about an hour walk every day. And when you actually look at all influential people like Churchill and Van Gogh and anyone, they all had that in their schedule. They walked in nature.
Isn't that nice?
Isn't that amazing?
This is practical. So here's a shaman who knows all kind. He's been through. I watched your video, like deaths. Like
Yes.
you're out on. Oh, I have chills. It's so cool. It's like you're out there, like putting it out there, and it's almost like you get flipped over out in nature, doing what
Completely.
you're willing to do to bring us what we need.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where I was going with that. I
Well,
forgot.
it's actually interesting what you bring up. I have a lot of people that want to be shamans, and I think you guys are crazy. Do you know what a shaman is? You're going to die and rebirth all the time, all the time, all the time. And in that process, when you die, it's actually your ego that's dying. You reconnect to your soul and your heart, and you get rid of all the different problematics that the ego brings in.
Right. And
So you die, but it's painful. And then you rebirth as a soul. So then when you're in the soul aspects, you're in connection with spirits, you're in connection with nature, you're in connection with the universe, you're in connection with so much stuff that brings that magic.
right.
Because you then are in that love. Through that process, you learn what the ego's trips are. And there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
And that's what creates our suffering, because the ego thinks it's separate. And so it's doing everything from fear, versus love is the exact opposite of fear. So actually, when you're confronted with fear, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful place where you're like, oh wow, this is an opportunity for me to experience love. And if you think about it,
Yeah.
all your experiences where you've come through fear, the courage of going through your
Yeah.
fear,
So fear
on the other side,
like
you have love, you have expansion, you have awareness. It's amazing. It's a release.
you have like liberation from that fear. You went through it.
Exactly.
It's contraction, right? So
Yes.
let's say somebody feels fear about anything.
It's contraction right away, and then the ego wants to protect us, and so it does everything to move us away from that fear. But actually, by relaxing into the fear and letting it go through us,
Yeah.
there's exactly that.
That's it. It's like, I've been aware that anger is a good thing. And sometimes negative languaging, like that is, you could say, like, so many people who are so into positive languaging and they try and skip what did you call them, the spiritual
Bypassing.
bypassing, where you don't want to concentrate on anything that's bugging you
Yeah.
because you want to get to that spiritual loving place. But I actually think the anger or those thoughts
Yeah.
are good, because then you could go, oh, I have that. What's
Exactly.
the opposite of that?
Exactly.
So with fear, the opposite is of love.
Exactly.
Is love.
Exactly.
So this is just, there's so much here that we could probably do like a series of videos.
Yeah.
But human design, do people have to be overwhelmed when they look at it because it's very complicated? How should they address
It's complicated, and I think like there's different levels and different stages in learning your human design. When you look at the map, focus on what your type is. So either you're a generator, projector, manifesting generator, manifestor, or reflector. And there's 8% of the people that are manifestors.
Only 8?
8%.
Wow.
2% that are reflectors.
That's really small.
Really small.
I don't know any reflectors
We
yet.
don't know too many.
Let us know if you are.
And then there's 35% that are manifesting generators, which I call MGs for short.
There's, yeah,
35%.
Okay.
35%
Yeah.
superheroes, super energy.
Yeah.
Generators are also 35%, and then projectors, which you are, which is 20%.
20%.
It's about 21%
Right.
now. Now, each of these types are completely different, and they interact with people and with life very differently. Our auras are completely different, our mechanisms are different, and our strategy. That's actually, there's this word that says your strategy for each type is super important. That's what gets you aligned to what you are.
Give me what was my strategy?
So the strategy for a projector is to wait for the invitation.
Right.
So waiting.
Sitting in your big comfy chair, waiting. That's
Exactly.
hard if you come from a generator
Exactly.
or a generator society, which
Exactly.
says you go do, you go sell, you go out there and hustle.
Completely.
We're in a society of hustle,
Yeah.
right?
I think we're all conditioned to be manifestors. There's only 8% of the people that should be manifestors. That means they go manifest and they go and they create and they go and impact and like go and chase stuff that they want. And manifestors actually are very visionary people that then go and impact the world so that things change. So like a really known manifestor is Hitler.
Right.
So he was an incredible orator, and that's what like they have, the power to orate and impact and create change. Another one is Osho.
A manifestor.
You raised a manifestor.
Yeah.
There you go.
Osho, that's a good
Osho is a
version
manifestor.
of
Exactly.
a manifestor, because
I mean, that's like when we
Osho.
do good and bad.
Yeah.
Krishnamurti was a manifestor
Okay.
also. He brought in like a lot of the Buddhism teachings into the West, right?
But here's the thing, like the really cool thing is that we're like pieces to a puzzle, almost like we're here to help each other. Like, so learning human design and saying, oh, that person is, oh, that's their job, and we can all work together.
Exactly.
Right.
Like projectors. So manifestors are the ones who create the impact and they create kind of the original change. Projectors are guides. They're like consultants. They're angels in a sense that are here to guide most of the people into more efficiency and success. But they have to be invited, just like a consultant.
Which you guys are inviting me because you turn on the videos. I found how perfect is that, right?
It is.
Like
It's
I get
perfect.
invited
Exactly.
to say what I want to say, and I actually, the raw food that I do is all about being efficient. It's not being in the kitchen for hours. It's like, how do you feed yourself daily?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead. So that's projectors.
So that's projectors, and then the majority of the people, so 70%, have that as generators. So the generator generates this life force. And the strategy of a generator is actually to respond. So they need to wait as well until life comes to them, and then they have a yes or a no question, because the mechanism of the generator is just or
Like-
So it's almost like, yes, I really want that, or I don't know, that's a
As
no.
a generator, could they go too quickly into doing something before?
Always.
Like they might jump at it because they're ready to do it. They have
Yeah.
all the energy in the world to do these good
Yeah.
ideas, but maybe they jump too quickly and then have to. So it's best to wait to
It's
see how it
wait
feels.
to see if the body has responded. We're so conditioned with the mind.
Do all projectors have splenic authority, or that's
No.
not true? Some have
No.
emotional.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into the centers, but right now, just in your base, like, projectors are here to consult, generators are here to generate this joy of life. Like the Dalai Lama is a really beautiful generator who generates compassion, for example, you know, and that's what he
I
spreads.
love the examples. That helps so much. Okay, go ahead.
Manifestors are good. Projectors, there's a lot, actually a lot of government, like Obama is a projector, I don't know if that's a good example. A lot of leaders now and CEOs and people who are really in high positions have changed from kind of like the manifestor role to the projector role. And the projectors take advice, they almost take counsel. And then from that, they're able to come up with the best strategy to bring the best efficiency without creating havoc.
More work.
Manifestors, they don't care about tact. They just
don't care,
go
like-
in and explode everything.
Right, and I heard you can either like a manifestor or not like them, and
Exactly.
the manifestor is not to care
Exactly.
about the people who don't like you.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, don't care.
I mean,
Keep
you're going to
going.
impact people, and 50% of the people are not going to be open to your energy because they don't want to be impacted.
Right.
Well, don't go try to like impact them more and like try to be loving to them
Like,
or to
carry
be
on.
loved by them.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you might be really sweet and you haven't said anything, and why are they rejecting me?
They feel it.
Forget
they
it.
feel the energy.
Look at the other 50% that are open and like go impact them, because they are obviously open to your energy as
They're
a
on your
manifestor.
train. They're hopping on the train.
So definitely, like, you're impacting. If you're a manifestor, you're impacting by breathing. So don't
That's
worry
cool.
about that.
That's pretty cool.
And then just try to notice who is open to that impact. And then the way that you impact is by informing. So you have to say and inform everything you feel, everything you see, which is very difficult for a manifestor, because usually there's a conditioning where they were rejected for saying things. They were rejected for being themselves. And so they have a tendency to not want to be truthful about everything that they are, because they feel like they're going to be rejected.
Rejected, especially as a child, like a manifestor child in intense. Like I always describe Jada, like my daughter is a force of nature.
She is.
She's a
Manifestors are.
And it's going to throw people.
Completely. And they do what they always do what they need to do. That's their alignment. They have to. So either they're going to lie about it or they're going to be in truth about it. And it's much better when they're in truth about it. So if they inform, rather than ask for permission, if they just inform what they're going to do and then do it, they're
It's
clear.
better to inform.
Even though
like,
it might
hey,
piss
Mom,
people
I'm
off.
going to blah, blah, blah. I'm checking to make sure we're still on. This is so cool.
Yeah.
We're on.
Yeah. We're on.
So, of course we are.
So the best way to actually raise a manifestor is to give them a cell phone and say, everything you do, just
let me know.
let me know.
Like
and then you're
freedom.
free to do whatever
Yeah.
you want. And there's this deep trust as a mother that like, oh my God, how is this kid going to like actually handle
Yeah.
it? But
Yeah.
they do.
I've
They
done
have
that
the
with
energy
Jada. I
for
was
that.
like, look, I did my part. I showed you the basics. I'm here if you need me.
Exactly.
But I trust you.
Yeah.
Like I trust what you're going to do
So
completely.
she's lucky because she had a projector mom. And so
Right.
you guys have that intuition to guide properly without like, you know, freaking out
trying
and trying
to
to
control it, or
which for a manifestor doesn't work anyways. You can't control them.
you can't control them.
And they're naturally going to go against authority. So I see a lot of like fathers that get a beautiful manifestor daughter, and the
they're
manifestor
trying
is
to-
just going to confront them because they're the authority. And so
Right.
of course they try to control even more, and then they just get even more
And there could be a blow up, like
huge blow up.
huge blow up.
Versus actually accepting the manifestor that they have their innate power to be able to manifest their life
Yeah.
beautifully, and the impacts that are going to be created are all for healing. So sometimes we see it as like bad, but actually it's good. There's actually a really old like Chinese proverb that it's a little long, but it's basically the story is that this guy, this farmer, he gets these horses, and at that time horses meant wealth. So he had these 2 wild horses that come to his farm and stay there. So the neighbor comes and goes, "Oh my God, you're so lucky, you have these horses," you know. And he's like, "We'll see." And then, you know, the next day his son goes on the horse and then actually breaks his leg. And so the neighbor comes, "Oh my God, you're so unlucky." And then the next day, you know, the army comes and takes all the young people except his son because he's got a broken leg, so he's not useful. So then the neighbor goes, "Oh my God, you're so lucky." But he says, "Who knows? We'll see."
Who knows?
And then it
We'll
goes
see.
on and on and on.
what was
and like
that
basically,
man was a...
he was a farmer. I mean, it was just like,
Oh, it's not like a manifestor
it's not,
generator or anything
It's,
like
it's
that.
just about
this-
like, we don't know what's good and we don't know what's bad. We really need to see and let things
we
play
don't
out.
know what's good and what's bad.
And when we get trapped in that, we're in the mind, we're in morals. And morals hold life from actually manifesting itself.
Yeah.
And so manifestors are always dealing with moral issues because they're usually breaking them.
Right. Right.
Now for us, like generators, because I'm a manifesting generator,
Of course.
so of course I think we're the
Superhero.
best, but
I meet manifest. I have a number of them in my life,
yeah,
and they're literally like superheroes,
yeah.
light beings
Yeah.
with all the energy in the world to
All the
get
energy.
things done. It
We have
fascinates
almost
me.
too much energy, but it's
fascinating.
it's how we are. And so we have a little bit of the manifestor in us, so we have that vision and we have the impact of our like voice, and we need to inform. And then we have the generator, so we have these visions. The trap of the manifesting generator is if you go into the vision and then you just go and follow it, your generator hasn't responded, so you might not actually have the energy to do that. It might have
It
been
may
just
not
an
be the
impact
right
for somebody
thing.
else to go
Right.
do.
Right.
So we always have to like inform all our visions and then wait for people to come back and say, hey, you want to meet that investor or you want to meet that person?
Say that again. So let's say that.
So
that
let's say a
part again. That's
manifesting
cool.
generator has a beautiful business idea, right? Their job is to get it on paper, make a beautiful presentation, really think it out, and then send it to all their friends. And then you wait, instead of going and doing it,
Right.
wait, and then a friend might be like, hey, I know an investor, he's really interested in that. And then you respond.
Right.
So it's either, I don't know if I want to meet that investor. Then of course your mind goes, oh, you got to meet him, you got to do this project. But
Right.
if your body said no, your body knows all this information, and that guy might be a shark that might steal your business.
Right.
So don't go and waste your time over there. And then so you say no. Now that's a very hard thing for people to say. No.
Right.
That's a huge piece of liberation.
Right.
You know,
Like,
that
no,
actually
just
frees
no,
us.
this
Like,
is
no,
not-
I don't feel it.
Yeah.
And is there a reason? No, you don't know the reason, and that's okay.
Right.
So we're so stuck in logical, like, well, why are you saying no?
Like
I
we
don't know
should,
why.
we should take that opportunity. We should work with that investor. We should
Exactly.
take a partner. But in the end, no is the most liberating, and it's deflating for a minute because you're like, oh, but then shortly or longly thereafter, you can
Exactly.
probably see that it was best to say.
Well, you have another friend that calls you and has another investor, you know,
Right.
right as you said no,
Right.
you get the other call, and then that investor is amazing. Same thing for every other position in that business. Like, here's the environment, do you want this place? No, I don't feel it, or this and that, etc.
It's faith in that there's enough.
There's
it's
abundance.
faith that there's more than just that one thing that showed up
Exactly.
for you.
It's actually what is right.
Right.
It's not the opportunity, it's how the opportunity is coming in. Actually, for projectors, that's so, so important. The invitation, you guys are like waiting for the invitation all the time, but actually, when an invitation comes, let's say it asks you to carry bricks, that's not a good invitation. The good invitation is,
Right.
can you help me and guide me through my process to make it more streamlined?
Right, I'll
'Cause
tell
I'm
you
stuck.
who should be carrying the bricks and how and which
Exactly.
direction.
Exactly.
And at what time,
Exactly.
but not do it myself.
Exactly.
I mean, I literally, now I say to people, okay, but I'm not supposed to do the work. Like, I'm going to guide you. And they kind of look at me and they're like, okay, like, I'm just not supposed to do the work. And
Exactly.
it's a funny thing to say.
It's
like,
weird,
it
right?
sounds like you're being lazy.
Yeah, exactly, which is the biggest fear for projectors.
Like,
Projectors are guilty by nature of not having the energy and therefore
It's
not
hard.
needing to do. And so by guilt, you do. Actually, it's amazing with projectors. The more you do, the more you gain weight.
the more you
less
do, the
you
more
do,
you gain weight.
The more you lose
Right.
weight.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that amazing?
I believe it.
It is.
Absolutely.
And in terms of eating, projectors also eat like birds. Like, you guys have a very fast process, so you need to eat a little bit
Little bits.
all the time.
Yeah, that's what I do. There's no like meals. I always find it like, wow, people do their meal and then they do their meal, and I really don't do the meals.
No.
Like, I'll eat,
Yeah.
but it's not this whole meal thing.
Exactly. No, most projectors need a little bit of food, usually very light food.
Raw food works for
Raw
us.
food is amazing for you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing for everybody.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
But
Nobody's
projectors
saying
are
that
usually
this
the
is
ones.
bad for you. They say a
No,
lot
this
of
is
things are
amazing.
bad for you, but nobody's saying. Although you would be surprised, the bulletproof guy is saying don't eat this raw, which I don't really agree, because I can eat it raw. I
Yeah,
can
of
blend
course.
it. I can eat it. Like,
I mean, afterwards, it's going to be dependent on your like very personal digestive systems
Constitution.
and constitution.
exactly. Do what feels right for you.
For sure. Then, so generators. Generators generate life force, and they usually disperse themselves all over the place because we don't really know what we want, but we do want stuff, and we're very needy. And this is manifesting generators and generators
Okay.
that generate this life force, and we need to satisfy our needs. If we don't satisfy our needs, we're going to be frustrated.
Right.
And frustration looks like a diesel engine that's polluting all this black smoke everywhere.
It's frustrating. It's horrible.
And projectors are so sensitive to that, and you definitely, that's how you get rid of projectors. Just get frustrated. They all leave.
Yeah, you can't. I can't be around that energy.
It hurts.
It does. Like when somebody's driving and they're frustrated because they lost their way. I'm like, why are you getting like that? Like, I got to get out of this car.
Yeah, it feels bad. It feels horrible inside of you.
Do you want
guys
to
are
hear
really
something
sensitive.
really nice? The noise you hear right now is my gardener who's actually raking. Like, no blow, leaf blower,
He's raking.
Isn't that nice?
That's
He's
amazing.
raking because the blowers just. So I'm going to shut the door. Keep talking because I hear him raking.
So,
it's better than the blower.
So the generators need to really wait because we have all this energy and we have these needs and we need to satisfy our needs. But we need to respond, and it's a real like, yes, I want to do that, or and if it's a that's a no.
It's a no. If it's not, this is what I told Jenna. If it's not a yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
If
exactly.
it's not a yes, it's a no.
And the yes is powerful. It's a whole body yes.
Like you. And if you, I remember I was going to go to Dan McDonald's juicing thing, and my friend was like, "What do you need a juicing feast for? You just did you've done 40 days on your own." And then I thought of not going, and it sunk. And then when I thought of going, I was like, like that's a yes.
And then that's a yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's an invitation somewhat, and then it's exactly the same for you, for all of us. We have this yes and no thing, but for generators, it's crucial. Right. Crucial, because if you don't respond, what happens is we start using our energy wrongly, and then we deplete ourselves, and then we're miserable.
And then you're miserable, and you get sick,
and depressed,
and tired,
and
depressed,
sick,
and then you have to
horrible.
redo, go back. Yeah,
That's the trick with manifesting generators. We usually like are jumping steps, and then we always have to come back because we're jumping steps because we're so impatient, which is a similar aspect.
My friend Tina, she's a superhero. She looks like a superhero. I mean, she's gorgeous, and she worked for Subway, and she was going like working, and now she's being very careful about which project, taking
Perfect.
the time.
Perfect.
They're like